Good morning, students. Today my topic is obstructed labor. The previous class we have studied about abnormal labor. This is different aspect. This is obstructed labor. Coming to the definition, obstructed labor is where there is a labor where there is poor or no progress of labor in spite of good uterine contractions. Means the progress has almost stopped. There is cessation of progress of labor. Here the incidence is 1 to 2% of the cases. The causes of obstructed labor is same like the abnormal labor. It can be a fault in the passage or the passenger. Coming to the fault in the passage, that is the birth canal. The conditions that are responsible are contracted pelvis, abnormal pelvis, that is not gynecoid, like android, anthropoid, any pelvic tumors which are obstructing the passage, like fibroids, ovarian tumors, tumors of the rectum, bladder, or any pelvic bone, abnormalities in the uterus and vagina, like vaginal stenosis, cervical stenosis, contraction rings in the uterus, transverse vaginal septum, and rigid perineum. Fetal conditions, that is a fault in the passenger. These are big macrosomia, means big baby more than 4.5 kgs. Malpresentations. Malpresentations are like breech, bro, face, like that. Malpositions, that is persistent occipito-posterior positions, transverse life, example. Malformed fetuses, that is anomalous fetuses, hydrocephalus, fetal ascites, conjoined twins, cord around the neck. Then locked twins. Anatomical changes that occur in the uterus in case of an obstructed labor are, main thing is a pathological retraction ring forms in the uterus. It is also called Bandel's ring. This is the Bandel's ring that is formed in the uterus. This is the Bandel's ring. Then the bladder also gets traumatized due to the continuous obstruction over the bladder, and bladder injury will occur that leads to blood stained urine, pressure necrosis, and says rarely a fistula between the bladder and the genital tract may occur later on. So the in later days patient will have a leaking of urine. Effects on the mother. What are the effects on the mother of the obstructed labor on mother are immediate effect. Patient will be severely exhausted, dehydrated. There will be lactic acid and ketone accumulation that leads to ketoacidosis, infections, genital sepsis. Injury to the genital tract includes rupture of the uterus also may occur if it is severe obstructed labor, postpartum hemorrhage, shock, and even death sometimes if the rupture of the uterus is not immediately treated and the shock is not treated. Remote complication is fistulas, genitourinary fistula or rectovaginal fistula. That is, genitourinary fistula means patient will complain of passage of urine through the vagina. There will be an abnormal communication will be formed between the genital tract and the urinary tract because of the bladder injury. Then secondary amenorrhea. This may occur maybe if the obstructed labor leading to rupture of the uterus, that is may lead to hysterectomy, then that causes secondary amenorrhea. This is also called surgical amenorrhea, and sometimes due to Sheehan syndrome, that is postpartum pituitary necrosis leads to secondary amenorrhea, postpartum pituitary necrosis, that is called Sheehan syndrome. Then what is the effect of obstructed labor on the fetus? Fetus, there will be fetal asphyxia, fetal acidosis, fetal intracranial hemorrhage, and fetal infections. How do you diagnose obstructed labor? Usually in the previous class I have told you detail about the partogram, where there will be a graphical representation of the different stages of labor, latent phase, active phase. There will be alert line and an action line. All these can detect an impending obstruction earlier, and necessary intervention will be taken so as to prevent all these complications. How you can diagnose obstructed labor is, woman gives a history of prolonged labor, that is like more than 18 hours of a latent phase patient will be there. The labor pains become severe and frequent, and they will be bearing down. Patient will be in agony from continuous pain and discomfort, restlessness, dehydration, exhaustion, ketoacidosis. Abdominal palpation reveals upper segment is hard and tender, lower segment distended and tender. In between there will be a pathological retraction ring or a Bandel's ring, and there will be distended bladder. Patient will not be able to pass the urine, so bladder gets distended, that even obstructs the passage of the baby. So all the features of exhaustion can be seen on the general examination. There will be dehydration, tachycardia, pulse more than 100 per minute, rise temperature, and scanty urine. Scanty urine because of the distended bladder, pressure on the bladder. Abdominal examination, you can see a retraction ring or a Bandel's ring between the tonically contracted upper segment and the distended tender lower segment. There will be a distended urinary bladder. Fetal heart sound shows evidence of fetal distress. Sometimes the baby may be IUD may have occurred. So this is the picture here. This is the uterus. This is the cervix, upper lower segment cervix. Normally what happens is, here the lower segment gets opened up during labor, and labor progresses normally. But what happens in a case of an obstructed labor, here this part is tonically contracted, this lower segment is distended, stretched, and becomes thin, and that a ring, a demarcation actually forms between the upper and the lower segment. This is called the Bandel's ring. Here you can see Bandel's ring. This is the Bandel's ring. See in this picture, this is a clinical picture. Uterus, this is the upper segment, lower segment, and here the Bandel's ring has formed. Clinically it looks like this, and here the bladder also has distended and it has entered into the abdomen. Bladder has, usually bladder is a pelvic organ, no? Here it has become an abdominal organ. Bladder is distended and upper segment, lower segment. Vaginal examination, the vulva becomes swollen, edematous. Vagina will be dry, hot, and offensive purulent discharge may be there. Cervix almost fully dilated or hanging like a curtain. Presenting part is extremely molded and jammed in the pelvis. Usually large caput formation will be there. Caput succedaneum it's also called. Differential diagnosis of the substructed labor or this Bandel's ring is constriction ring. Constriction ring is, it's also called as amniotic band syndrome or constriction ring syndrome, where there will be only a spastic contraction over a specific part of the fetus. There will be a spastic contraction of the uterus over a specific part that leads to maldevelopment of that fetal part. It may occur in at the fingers, it may occur on the chest, anywhere these constriction rings may occur. It is also called Streeter's dysplasia. That may sometimes the baby will be formed, if the ring is around the fingers, the baby will be born without fingers. If the constriction ring is around the fetus, it will be around the chest, the baby will be, there will be anomalous chest. So that constriction ring is different from the Bandel's ring. Sometimes a full bladder patient, sometimes because of the severe pain, she will not be able to evacuate or empty her bladder, and that full bladder will look like as if there is an upper segment and a lower segment, and in between there is a ring. But once will put a urinary catheter, all the urine will come out, bladder gets empty, and there will be no ring seen. So full bladder is also a differential diagnosis for a Bandel's ring. Then a fundal fibroid. Fundal fibroid will be also, it looks like an obstructed labor, because in the fundal part there will be a swelling, lower part there will be the fetus will be there. In between the depression looks like a Bandel's ring. These three are the differential diagnosis. What are the complications of obstetric labor? Maternally are rupture of the uterus may occur, vesicovaginal fistula, that is a connection between the vesicle means bladder, bladder and vagina. Rectovaginal fistula, connection between the rectum and the vagina. PPH, postpartum hemorrhage, sepsis, that is infection, shock, and maternal death. Fetal complications are asphyxia, intracranial hemorrhage, neonatal infections, acidosis, and fetal death. These are the early complications or the immediate complications. Late complications on the fetus are there may be cerebral palsy and mental retardation. Maternal complications are urinary fistulas, vaginal stenosis, Asherman syndrome, and secondary infertility. How do you prevent the obstructed labor? Antenatally, you detect the obstructing factors through the partogram. All these complications like big baby, short height, malpresentation, short height of the mother, malpresentation, malpositions are detected, so that you anticipate obstructed labor and do not allow them to go for a trial labor. In that way, you can prevent. An international use of partograph, and failure in the progress of labor is an impending sign of obstructed labor. How do you treat it? First, you try to relieve the obstruction, treat the dehydration and acidosis, and control the infection. There will be three modalities of treatment: immediate management, general management, and obstetric management. Immediate management is patient will be usually very dehydrated, exhausted, so put her on IV fluids, correct the ketoacidosis, take a vaginal swab for the culture and sensitivity because there will be offensive purulent discharge, try to control the sepsis. Then a blood sample is sent for grouping and cross matching to correct the hypovolemia. Then give a ceftriaxone. This is antibiotic. 1 gram IV ceftriaxone is given. Metronidazole is also given for the anaerobic organisms. General management, you assess the vitals of the mother, put on IV fluids, antibiotics, put a urinary catheter, sodium bicarbonate to correct the lactic acidosis. And after the immediate management and general management, main thing is the obstetric management. Either you go for a vaginal delivery or a cesarean section based upon the situation. Usually when you will go for a vaginal delivery is, if there is a dead fetus, then you can go for destructive operations like symphysiotomy, and if head or cleidotomy, craniotomy, where you remove the fetus in separately, you break the bones, destructive operations, these are called. Cleidotomy is clavicle is cut, craniotomy you cut the skull, symphysiotomy, all these are destructive operations. If in a rare case in the live fetus also you can try, this is very rare, live fetus you can try for vaginal delivery when the head is very low, that is almost there is full dilatation, and if with the forceps the baby will come, if you are sure of it, you can try for a vaginal delivery. And cesarean section is usually preferred in the obstructed labor. Usually in the, if the baby is live fetus and when there are signs of impending rupture, this I will tell you later. Then active management of third stage of labor, that is try to prevent any postpartum hemorrhage and also to prevent the future bladder usually will be traumatized in these conditions. So you have to give rest for the bladder to heal, then only there will be less chances of formation of fistulas. If immediately the catheter is removed on the next day, there will be the bladder injury will not be healed, the bladder mucosa will not be healed, so there will be chances of formation of fistula. So you have to put her on continuous bladder drainage, put her on the Foley's catheter for usually 2 to 3 days if it is minimal injury, or if it is a big bladder tear, put her on 2 to 3 weeks of bladder drainage. Then only you can prevent fistula formation. Then coming to the next topic, that is obstetrical labor most commonly leads to immediate main complication is rupture of the uterus. Why is this important is rupture of the uterus definition is there is disruption in the continuity of all the uterine layers, endometrium, myometrium, serosa, the entire layers of the uterus are broken anytime beyond 28 weeks of pregnancy is called rupture of the uterus. Sometimes perforation also may be mistaken as this, and sometimes rupture of a rudimentary pregnant horn also may be misdiagnosed for the rupture of the uterus. Incidence is 1 in 2000 to 1 in 200 deliveries. Usually scar ruptures, that is cesarean scar, one in the previous pregnancy she has undergone a cesarean, so there will be a scar over the uterus that ruptures in the next pregnancy, that is called scar rupture. Nowadays, because of the increased incidence of the cesarean sections, the incidence of scar rupture has been increased. So uterus rupture, this is a very dangerous labor, most dangerous labor complication. It can be spontaneous or traumatic with extrusion of the fetus or the fetal parts into the peritoneal cavity. See, you can see here the membrane, this is fetus, these are the membranes, and here there is a break in the membranes and the membranes herniated into the peritoneal cavity. So, and the uterine wall has been ruptured. So, here there will be significant uterine bleeding, fetal distress, protrusion or expulsion of the fetus into the abdominal cavity. Once the baby enters the abdominal cavity, within 1 to 2 minutes, there will be baby will die because of lack of blood supply, and and that leads to severe uterine bleeding. And if the immediately the uterine rupture is not treated within few hours, because of the excessive bleeding, mother also goes into shock and there will be maternal death also. So if you are not able to prevent the uterine rupture, at least go for immediate surgery, and you have to save the mother. And if the uterus is not severely damaged and bladder is not severely damaged, if you can just remove the baby and suture the uterus, if the bleeding is controlled, then you can just do a uterine repair. But if the bleeding is not controlled with the uterine repair, then you have to remove the uterus to save the mother. That's hysterectomy. Classification of the uterine rupture. Classification is, I have already told you the etiology. It can be spontaneous or voluntary. Spontaneous ruptures usually occur in case of anatomical abnormalities, connective tissue disorders, autoimmune disorders, inflammatory diseases. Voluntarily, that because of the hyperfunctioning of the uterus, like any malpresentations, excessive doses of, usually you give this oxytocin and all to augment the labor. If that has been excessively used, that also may lead to hypertonic contractions and rupture of the uterus. And classification of the rupture of the uterus by the layers is complete rupture and incomplete rupture. Incomplete rupture is usually it is called scar dehiscence. Scar dehiscence. Complete rupture is all the layers from the endometrium, myometrium and serosa, everything are broken. Incomplete rupture means only few layers are broken. It's completely the uterus has not given away. Why this is important is in incomplete rupture, the baby can be saved because it doesn't come into the abdomen. Classification by location of rupture is either lower segment rupture may occur or rupture may occur in the fundus. Corpus means body. Fundus or the body of the uterus. Complete rupture means disruption of the scar involving the entire length of the scar. It may also occur spontaneously. Fetus usually escapes out. So there is no chance of survival of the fetus here. Incomplete rupture or scar dehiscence means only there will be a few just an extension of a cervical tear or a lower segment scar rupture may occur, but only few layers are involved. But there will be a visceral peritoneum over the uterus. There are two peritoneum, parietal and visceral peritoneum. Visceral peritoneum will be over the organs. So here the visceral peritoneum or the over the uterus is called utrovesical fold. That will be intact. So even the uterus is opened also, this peritoneum holds the baby inside the uterus, and so you can save the baby. Baby will be alive inside the uterus. This is the picture of a rupture uterus where you can see the baby total fetal head has come into the abdomen. Upper segment rupture is fundal involvement, lower segment is involves the anterior lower segment. So threatened rupture means these means rupture is going to happen. These signs are very important because you can save the fetus. What are the signs are? There will be excessive uterine contractions. Patient will be having severe painful contractions. Lower segment is distended. There will be cervical edema. Edema extends to the vagina and perineum. There will be difficult urination, bloody discharge, Vandel's ring will be there, and this is threatened rupture. This is rupture has occurred. Here patient will have no pain because uterus has given away, it has broken now. Suddenly patient after severe, so how you can diagnose rupture is patient will be having continuous pains from one day to the next day, and suddenly pains will be stopped. That is a big indication of a uterine rupture. Uterine contractions suddenly stop, and when you palpate the abdomen, you can palpate the fetal parts very freely. The fingers, toes, the head, chest, everything can be felt through the abdominal wall because there is no uterus obstructing, and there will be fetal death. And just clinically only you can diagnose rupture. Without a scan you can diagnose, because just you put a hand over the abdomen, you can feel you can move the head very easily, you can feel all the fetal parts. Usually the fetal, there will be fetal death, and the hemorrhage may lead to hypovolemic shock in the mother. This etiology already I have told you. Iatrogenic rupture is that which is induced by the treatment during pregnancy, use of excessive oxytocin, prostaglandins, forcible external cephalic version. That is, in case of a breech, you try to turn it to the cephalic position externally without putting a hand in the vagina. Try, if you're trying over the abdomen, it is called external version. If you try it forcibly, the uterine rupture may occur, or any injury to the abdomen, patient may fall somewhere. During labor, how it occurs is internal podalic version. This is also internal podalic version. Usually in case of twins, you may try in the, and destructive operations may lead to, if destructive operations may lead to a rupture of the uterus. When the placenta, manual removal means the baby comes and the placenta doesn't come out, then you put a hand inside the uterus and try to manually remove it. That also may lead to a rupture of the uterus. And breech extraction, forceps extraction, excessive use of oxytocin. Scar rupture, what you have is important is a classical cesarean section scar ruptures 5 to 10 times higher than a lower segment cesarean scar. LSCS means lower segment cesarean section. Classical cesarean section means you could give a longitudinal incision over the uterus. Lower segment is give a transverse incision over the lower segment. Classical means longitudinal incision for tires starting from the fundus to the lower segment. There will be a weak scar if there are any previous operations on the uterus, or you have tried VBAC. VBAC means vaginal birth after cesarean section. Then if she has undergone previous myomectomy, that is at the time of marriage, she later on she detects that somewhere a fibroid is there, she is not able to conceive, it is a big fibroid, she will go for myomectomy, removal of only the fibroid or a fibroid is also called myoma, no, leiomyoma. So myomectomy, ectomy means removal. If she has undergone a fibroid surgery, then there is a chance of a scar rupture. Excision of any uterine septum, if she is a septate uterus that is not leading her to conceive, that is, then she will have undergone a septal resection through a hysteroscopy. You put a scope inside the uterus and resect the septum. If that has been done in the patient, that leads to chances of rupture of uterus. Previous any DNCs, hysteroscopy, forceps deliveries, all these may increase the incidence of rupture during pregnancy. So here this is the picture of the rupture uterus. This is early rupture, or almost like you can say, this see initial tearing along. This is the inside the baby is there. This is the uterus. This is the previous scar. Here this tear has started. Initial tearing along the previous scar. Here this is only incomplete tear. Here you can see a full thickness tear, and there is bleeding, and the baby fetal part is visible here, and blood is flowing into the abdomen. If immediately when there are signs of rupture you open it, it looks almost like this, and if it is diagnosed late, it may look worse. So these are the causes of uterine rupture. This is also an image of the uterine rupture. This is the normal uterus. This is the cesarean scar, and here the rupture has occurred. See the baby, the cord, baby, umbilical cord, placenta, everything is in the abdomen. Here you can see the bowels, and this is the uterus, and there is severe bleeding. So how you will diagnose a scar rupture? It's a dull pain, fetal heart sound irregular or absent, acute pain, shock, and palpation of parts superficially. Then confirmation is done by laparotomy. So in a rupture, there will be two phases, premonitory phase and phase of rupture. Premonitory phase means continuous severe pain, pulse rate, temperature is raised, Bandel's ring is visible, absent fetal heart sound. Phase of rupture is pain will be dull, aching, absence of contractions, features of shock. Main how we will diagnose a rupture is ultrasonography. On ultrasound, there will be extraperitoneal hematoma, intrauterine blood, empty uterus, sac will be above the uterus, large uterine mass with gas bubbles. How you will treat the rupture is intensive resuscitation, emergency laparotomy, put her on broad spectrum antibiotics and adequate post-op care. How you correct the hypovolemia is treat the hemorrhage, sepsis, dehydration, put her on IV antibiotics, cephalosporin plus metronidazole combination. And so the main treatment, immediately when there is a threatened stage only, go for an immediate cesarean section. Management of the uterine rupture are blood transfusion, emergency exploratory laparotomy, go for a cesarean delivery, repair of the uterus, or if you are not able to repair the uterus, that is, even though you suture it, the bleeding is not controlled, go for a hysterectomy. So there are three things. One is cesarean delivery with exploratory laparotomy, repair by suturing, hysterectomy. Three options are there. Next, coming to birth canal trauma. Birth canal, what is the definition is the passage through which the fetus is expelled during the parturition. Parturition means labor, process of labor, normal labor. That is, birth canal is from the uterus, cervix, vagina, and vulva. Vagina, these three things, vagina, vulva, perineum, all this is the birth canal. All these may get injured during the expulsion stage of the labor, that is second stage. What are the injuries of the birth canal? So if I have talked about obstructed labor, then rupture of the uterus, then this is about the injuries of the birth canal. Injuries of the birth canal. Birth canal, there will be a bony part and a soft tissue part. This is about the pelvic bones. So birth canal trauma is divided into cervical trauma, vaginal trauma, and perineal trauma. Cervical lacerations. See, this is the cervix, upper lip, lower lip, this is the external os. So these cervical tears usually occurs in the lateral sides. This is upper, lower, no. Lateral tears means the tears usually occur on the sides. And there are 3 degrees of lacerations. First degree laceration is less than 2 centimeters. Second degree more than 2 centimeters, but not extending to the vaginal fornix. Third degree means rupture extending to the vaginal fornix. Why you are so worried about cervical lacerations is cervical tears leads to severe PPH and there is chance of maternal death. So repair of the cervical lacerations, early diagnosis is very important. Here you can see how it is diagnosed is persistent bleeding. It will be almost like a tap, or tap opened, how the bleeding water comes like that. There will be severe bleeding from the vagina. Causes of the cervical lacerations are the rigidity of the cervix, abnormal strictures due to any scarring from the previous surgeries, rapid delivery of the head in breech presentations. Treatment of the cervical lacerations is, see, this is the cervix upper lip, this is the lower lip. These are the sponge holders. The cervix is very soft, so you can't put any Alice or any traumatic forceps here. This is sponge holders will hold the cervical lip softly without any injury to the cervix. This is the cervical tear. This is the cervical tear. This is the apex or the starting of the tear. So you start suturing from here and go up to here. That way you can suture the cervical tears. Vaginal lacerations. These are usually longitudinal lacerations. They extend into the underlying tissues. They can be traumatic or spontaneous. Traumatic vaginal lacerations are mainly due to forceps deliveries. The spontaneous vaginal lacerations will occur in malpresentations or a very big fiddle head. Then come the perineal lacerations are they're classified into first degree, second degree, third degree, and fourth degree. What are these degrees are? First degree is, see, this is the vagina. This is the vaginal mucosa. First degree laceration means this is perineal skin. This is the perineal skin. Skin is involved, underlying tissues, maybe a superficial muscle. This is the anal sphincter. This is a first degree laceration. Second degree laceration is muscle is also involved. Bulbocavernosus, superficial transverse perineal muscles are involved. Third degree laceration means it involves the perineal body and circular muscles of the sphincter ani. Anal sphincter is involved here, partially. Why this is important means anal sphincter involvement, if this is not corrected, then the patient will have rectovaginal fistula. There will be passage of fecal matter through vagina if this is not corrected later on. Fourth degree laceration. This is most severe type. The laceration extends through the rectum. Here, see, almost the rectum is totally opened. In the previous picture, only some anal sphincter is only involved. So, sphincter involved means the patient will have anal incontinence. She will not be able to hold her fecal matter. Then fourth degree laceration is here the rectum is totally, the rectum, vagina, everything is connected here. Totally rectum is broken. So what are the etiology of these perineal lacerations are mainly nulliparity. That is on nulliparity means she has not undergone even one vaginal delivery and she has undergone any severe sexual assault that leads to a severe perineal tear, then a prolonged second stage of labor, persistent occipito posterior position, forceps delivery, height Asian races means usually the Indian woman most short stature is very common that leads to cephalopelvic disproportion and if you try for a normal delivery she will have this type of severe perineal lacerations if the pelvis is not adequately assessed. Or sometimes some patients will go for a normal delivery without going to the hospital. If you try for a normal delivery for 1 to 2 days, these lacerations may occur if it is conducted by the eyes. Then giant babies and if with epidural anesthesia. This is episiotomy. This is to prevent the perineal laceration. You give this so that it is a neat, clean cut, and later on the delivery also will be easy, and it is immediately sutured so that there is no excessive extension of the tears. It is in the incision of the perineum and posterior vaginal wall. Immediately after full cervical dilatation, if there is crowning, then you can give an incision on the perineum so that the head comes out easily, and immediately after the delivery of the placenta, this is sutured out. This is easier, post-operative pain is less and prevents any all these complications, fourth degree lacerations, rectal tear, sphincter tear, anal sphincter tear, all are prevented through episiotomy. Usually in a primary gravida, second gravida, usually the vagina will be lax. So it depends whether you give or not but for a primary gravida, episiotomy is very much necessary. Episiotomy, when the baby is very large. In second, these are all for a second gravida. For a primary, you have to give episiotomy. Episiotomy, two types is there. See, midline means you cut from here to here. You cut from the starting. This is the anal sphincter. You don't go to the anal sphincter. You put directly, you cut it vertically. Mediolateral means this is right mediolateral, this is left. The mother's maternal side is left is this. If you cut like this, it is left mediolateral episiotomy. If you cut like this, right mediolateral. If you cut like this, it is J-shaped median episiotomy. What is the, here you can see, this is fourchette, no? This is vaginal fourchette. So midline episiotomy is from here to 2.5 centimeters along midline. Mediolateral is 2.5 centimeters away from the anus. You go laterally and downwards. But the main advantage of mediolateral is if you cut only so much length, but when the head expels out, this tear will get extended. So if you give a mediolateral, it will extend like this. But if for a midline episiotomy, it will extend into the anus. So there are chances of anal injury in midline episiotomy. So we give usually a mediolateral episiotomy here. RMLE, right mediolateral episiotomy is called RMLE. See, this is a midline episiotomy. You put two fingers to safeguard the fetal head so that the scissors doesn't cut the fetal head, and you give an incision. And all this episiotomy repair is same like first degree laceration. First episiotomy repair means if you give a small episiotomy, if you involving only the skin and mucosa, you suture it with CAD cut. If you have cut the muscle also, if based upon the fetal size, based upon the laxity of the vulva, you decide how much of episiotomy you want. You want to give a small incision or sometimes for second gravidas usually we give a very small episiotomy incision. Then you should be, it will be like a first degree laceration of perineum. Third degree, sometimes after we giving the episiotomy, it may extend in involve the rectal sphincter. Then we have to repair the anal sphincter. So this is about the, so we have talked in this class about obstructed labor, that leading to rupture of the uterus and later injuries of the birth canal. Thank you.